I was letting other people's opinions and perceptions shape my own perception of myself, essentially.
Yeah.
And I was letting everything that other people believed or said really influence me in that way. Like, remind myself, how do I feel about this? And if I think about the fact that, did I enjoy writing this? Yes. Is this something that I enjoy, makes me feel good? And if the answer is yes, then I'll keep going.
Hey, I'm Katie J, and welcome to Young Scot's podcast, This Is How I Feel. This podcast is all about having open and honest conversations focused on emotional well-being. And today, we're really looking forward to talking to writer, content creator, advocate, and host of the sister station podcast, Muminah. She uses storytelling to amplify the voices of Black and Muslim women, crafting narratives that are not only thought-provoking and empowering, but also deeply connected to mental health, self-expression, and resilience. So let's get into it. Muminah, is there nothing you can't do? That list is very impressive. Congratulations. I mean, for real though, that's a big bio, and that's a lot that you're out there doing. Do you feel the weight of that sometimes, or are you just living in it and enjoying the process of creating?
I'd say more the latter, simply because I don't always remember everything that I'm doing. Like, honestly, anytime people ask me, like, oh, so what do you do? Or to introduce myself, my mind immediately goes blank and I'm there trying to think, oh, what do I say first? What do I put first? I even went to a conference recently that they asked us to write our names and what we do on the name card. And I was literally there contemplating because there wasn't enough space to fit everything.
Can I have another bit of paper, please? You know, you need a whole scroll.
So I'm always trying to think how best to summarize everything that I do. But yeah, it can be overwhelming sometimes. But yeah, I'm grateful for the position I'm in and just trying to keep things going. Yeah.
Absolutely. Very relatable as well. When you've got so many hats and you're spinning so many plates, it must be hard to condense that into one thing. If you had to in this moment, what would you say? I
guess creative.
Yeah.
I think that encompasses everything pretty well.
That's the one for the name tag.
Yeah,
but there's so much more. Yeah.
Even though that could mean many things, but
yeah, I mean, it's quite phenomenal, and we will hopefully cover all aspects of that. But before we get into it properly, fancy an icebreaker?
Sure.
Yeah? Okay. So this is a little quiz to get to know you a wee bit better. A rapid fire. We're calling this a rapid fire identity quiz, which actually immediately makes me feel nervous. But I hope that you're okay because this is going to be fun, okay? I promise you that. So how it works is that I'm going to ask you a few questions and then you need to answer them as quickly as you can.
Okay. I'll try my best.
Yeah? Okay. Listen, no pressure. We'll have fun with this one. I don't know. I've been thinking about this first question myself since I saw it, and I don't know if I'd be able to answer it instantly, but I've got a feeling you will come through with this because, yeah, I know you've got something good. Okay. Favourite childhood story or poem? Oh, the panic. The panic.
I guess I'll go with the book, Autumn's Fowl.
Oh, so fair. I was going to say Dr. Seuss. That is better. Okay. I'm like green eggs and ham. No, I like your answer. Very good. A piece of advice that you live by?
Try my best, pray for the rest.
And I'm obsessed. Right. A word that sums up your creative style?
Chaotic.
Love. Okay. I feel seen in this moment. I don't know about you. A self-care ritual that works every time?
Sleep. Having a nap.
Preach. I'm really glad you said that because I think people underestimate the power of a nap.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah.
Like sometimes even just closing my eyes for 10 minutes and just shutting everything out.
Yeah.
I come back and I feel so much better. So
tell me, are you good at that though? Are you the type of person that if I said, you know, okay, you've got half an hour, gonna go for a quick nap?
Oh,
could you
100%.
just do it?
I can sleep at the drop of a hat. Like 2 things I can do like on cue is sleep, cry, or both. Like
Stop. Okay, I support the sleep, but the crying will save for a minute. Come on.
I would also honestly advocate for that too. Like, if you just have a good cry as well, like at least a cry and a nap once a week, you're good.
Do you know what? I suppose it is just about getting it all out. And like you do sometimes that cathartic experience of just literally shedding the tears and getting it out your system can be really powerful. And also naps are the best.
Literally
the best. Okay, so please don't doze off. I'm a little nervous because it is a very relaxing setting we've got here. We've got mood lighting.
I'm very settled into this chair.
Do you want to tell everyone the truth? You were not settled when you got into the chair. It was a very precarious mission trying to move the microphone.
Honestly,
and get
we
it.
should have taken a picture.
It was good. It was so good.
Like before and after.
I know. It's because when I had to tell you that the mic arm moved, it changed the game. It changed the game. But we're here, we're comfy, and we're ready to get into it. So thank you so much for being here with us.
Thank you for having me.
I'm so delighted. And every time we have a guest on the podcast, we ask them the crucial question of, how are you feeling today?
I'd say surprisingly calm. Like, despite the chaos of this morning to get here and even to settle in the chair, I'm feeling pretty good. Yeah.
Like, so many unexpected hurdles today. You can tell everyone the proper story, but even the fact that getting in the chair was a bit of a process. But this morning it all could have gone a little bit wrong. Could have gone a little bit south, huh? Do you want to tell everyone what happened?
So I got into my car, everything was going well. I even sent a text into the family group chat to say, okay, I'm going off into Glasgow now. And then I put my key in and I go to start the car and nothing. Like, I don't even hear like a little...
Not even like a puff of last breath of the car.
Literally. No. And I'm just there thinking like, oh, maybe I'm imagining it. Let me just try again. And I try again a couple more times. I'm just there thinking, oh no. And I have to like start calculating like, okay, how much time do I have until the next train, and trying to figure out how I'm going to figure this, solve the situation. And then I call my dad and so I'm like, Dad, the car's not starting. I don't know what to do.
Immediately though, the kind of the hotline goes and you go, right, I need support. Where am I going?
Honestly, but thankfully I still managed to get at least the next train because I just got a taxi to the station and now I'm here. So
problem solving. And you made it. Okay, and the day can only improve. That's it. The bar's been set.
That's the idea.
Well, thank you so much for braving the chaos and coming in to see us today. When something like that happens to you, which is just like, the kind of the nuisances of life and things go wrong and all that stuff, do you have a kind of a way of reframing that and kind of how do you push past that? Because sometimes that's enough for me to put me in a downward spiral for the full day. But you've come in smiling and you're ready to go. Is there any sort of mental arithmetic that you have to work through there?
I think, in a way, now that these situations, they almost happen to me every day.
This is the chaos element again.
And so I think I've just gotten to a point where I almost, A, expect it, and B, I'm almost like mildly immune to it in the sense that, but because it happens so much, I'm just like, okay, I'm here, I'm doing this now, on to the next thing. Yeah. And I think before these sorts of situations really did used to kind of throw me off and really unsettle me, especially at the start of my day. But I think, actually, I might need to think about this one a little bit because, sorry.
No, I just think I think you're getting there anyway. It was just to see, because I think sometimes it just takes one thing. When you're in that frame of mind and it's like the car not starting could really have put you in a space where you're like, nah, today's not going to be a good day. But instead you push on and you kind of move past it. It's quite a good lesson for people just to be, remind themselves that just because one thing doesn't go right doesn't mean that the whole thing's off. But also we don't need to.
I think I try to think of it sometimes as the phrase that always comes to mind when stuff like this happens is a series of unfortunate events, like the book series that, honestly, I actually haven't read it, but I just really like that line, a series of unfortunate events.
I mean, gosh, those books, a lot of unfortunate things happen. My goodness.
A friend of mine was actually telling me the other day about like all the stuff that even happened in book 1, and I was thinking like, wow, my life has not gotten to that point yet.
Not quite Lemony Snicket levels, no.
Exactly.
I've got a bit of fluff in my mouth. I'm so sorry.
Oh no.
Just continue.
But yeah, so when I think about that, and I think about all the instances where things have gone from bad to worse, and seemingly like the worst thing happened, and then I think back to that happening, and then think of the fact that I'm here now and I was able to get past it, get through it. And I always just try and think of the worst case scenario, and the fact that a lot of the time I have an example of being at the worst case scenario and it not turning out that bad. So I just have to try and sort of remember that as much as I want things to go perfectly and exactly to plan, they don't have to do that in order to work out well in the end. So yeah, I just try and keep that in mind, so to speak.
Exactly. And you're here, you know, and it all kind of aligned. Sure, a little detour, but we made it. Can you tell us a little bit about what you've been up to recently? The first time that we met was at the Young Scot Awards, when you picked up an award, which is amazing. What have you done since then? What's been going on in your world?
So quite a few things. One, I've actually won another award since then.
Stop! Amazing. That's so cool.
I won the Creative of the Year, the Black Scottish Awards Creative of the Year award, and the ceremony was literally just last month, and I didn't actually know I was going to win because I got the announcement that I would be a finalist, I think back in maybe sometime earlier this year. And so that was when I got the invite to the award ceremony, and I was like, okay, cool. And they're going to announce everybody on the night. And I remember even on the night, I was thinking like, oh, I'm not sure if it will be me and everything. So I was just kind of chilling, thinking that this is just a night to sort of celebrate everybody else and enjoy myself and really soak up the environment. And then they announced my name, and I was so confused. Like, I'm not sure. There might even still be footage of me not even knowing which way I needed to go onto the stage.
Oh, because you weren't paying attention at all. Exactly. You were just enjoying it. Yeah.
Because sometimes I look back at that moment and I think to myself, was I not paying attention? How did I not know which side of the stage to go on? But I realized because that wasn't what I was focusing on. I was just like, oh, this next person, oh, their speech is really cool. Yeah. Oh, that's really interesting. And I was just zoned out. And the next thing they call my name and I need to go on stage, and next thing I'm like, oh no, where am I going? And then I hadn't, even though they literally emailed us, they said everybody should prepare, a little short speech in case it's you. And because I thought it's not going to be me, I'm not going to prepare everything, I'm just going to chill. And then I get there and I'm like, oh, time to do a speech.
Yeah, and the pressure's on because this is a room full of people that you really admire and have been celebrating, and you're thinking, I better say something.
Exactly. So I just did my usual spiel of sort of thanking everybody, because at the end of the day, I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for the support of my family, my friends, mentors, etc. And I was hoping to be able to impart some sort of, philosophical advice, but there wasn't enough time. So I was just
unfortunately, you were in audience mode, not participation mode.
Just like, thank you and good night, the end.
Do you know what? Sometimes that's all the people need to hear. But what an incredible achievement. I mean, my goodness me. To be recognised in that way must feel really, is it a bit emotional for you to be recognised in that way? I'd
say so, because, if I think back to even a year ago, a couple of years ago, if you told me that this is where I would be now and I'd be doing stuff like this, I would have laughed and thought that's not me, that's somebody else that you're talking about. So yeah, it really feels like things have come full circle for me, and I feel a lot more sort of settled and comfortable in this path that I've taken now, and
That's amazing. And it's just really reassuring for people to hear that. And I think we're going to tap a little bit into it now about that journey that you've been on, because where you started is quite far from where you've ended up. I mean, very impressive. You started studying computer science and maths, and now you're pursuing media and the arts. And for most people listening, that's quite the pivot. How does this happen? And also, I'm just so impressed with you that both sides of your brain work in this way, because I would struggle to do computer science and maths. How did you make that transition, and kind of what brought you to where you are now?
But yeah, I'd say the transition has been some parts easy, some parts hard. And what has made it easier is because over the years, I've always had some sort of creative outlet. So I used to read a lot as a kid. I still do now, to be honest. And all the books that I read really inspired a lot of the stories that I started to write, and my poetry as well. And then I also am really into singing. I did a cappella in university. And so like throughout the years, I've always had some sort of some sort of...
There's been creative passion there.
Yes. I've always like nurtured that side of me. And even though it was more in the sense of a hobby and sort of more low-key, so to speak. Yeah. And so when it came to shifting to making a creative focus my career, essentially, it just felt a bit natural in that way, because it's not like I was starting something new. I was just continuing from where I'd left off. But then what has been challenging is just in making that shift and focus, because especially when I graduated, I'd spent the last 4 years of my life essentially building a space for myself in the world of STEM, and my entire network was STEM based, and my whole, CV and my online presence, everything about me was kind of defined as STEM related. Yeah. And so when I was trying to make the shift and move into the creative industry, on paper it looked as if, where's the connection? Like, where am I coming from?
Where did this happen? Yeah, exactly.
Exactly.
So, who is this person? Yeah.
Honestly. And so it meant that I had to put in a lot of effort to essentially rebrand myself and bring all of my creativity to the forefront and show that this didn't just happen overnight, that this is something I've been working on for a long time. And so from so many different avenues, whether it was networking and attending different events like book festivals and doing internships and getting some of my poetry published, like I just tried to do as many things to sort of build a portfolio for myself and really try to create that platform that I could showcase that this is what I am and what I do.
It's fascinating, but it's also really brave, because I think that you had a really clear-cut trajectory, all carved out, lots of hard work gone into that. And then although this had been more than bubbling, it was there, it was part of your identity, it wasn't such a linear route for you. And it's a risk to a certain extent that maybe people go, oh, it's no coincidence that a lot of people have hobbies and do things on the sidelines, and then actually, if they were honest with themselves, that's what they want to be doing. But the kind of binaries of this is the right thing to do, this is the working day, and you must do something that fits this mold, and save that stuff for the weekends and in your evenings and your free time. A very brave thing to do, to go, do you know what, actually, this is the choice. This is where my passion lies. This is where I feel I can really excel. And I'm going to just go and do the thing and sort of abandon this cookie cutter idea of what I should be doing.
100%. It's been a big, it's been a big shift and transition. And there was a lot of, there was a lot of unlearning that I had to do in the process. I think because in general, there's a lot of societal expectations and pressures of what life is supposed to look like, especially as a young person in my 20s. And, being a university graduate, it's like, you should just follow on, everything should just follow on consecutively.
Sure.
You go to school, then, you get good grades so you can get into uni, and then whatever you study at uni, you have to go into that career and do that like for the rest of your life.
Yeah.
And I think sometimes, especially when I compare myself to my peers and I see the fact that generally a lot of them did follow that sort of more traditional or conventional route. So at times it can feel a bit lonely being one of the few people I know that is on a different pathway, and it can be a bit tough sometimes and a bit isolating. But I think something that has helped with that is, as I've been on this journey, connecting with different people who are in the industry and doing similar things as me, that has helped as well. And at times, especially when I'm in between things or things aren't really going well, there is still, some room for me to kind of doubt and question things, because since I left uni, basically every role or every project I've worked on has been on some form of temporary or short-term basis. Mm-hmm. And that can be tough sometimes, because even when I'm in something or I'm doing something, I feel like I can't be fully settled or sit still. I'm constantly having to look for what's the next thing, where am I going to be a month from now, 3 months from now, in a way that a lot of, I feel like I wouldn't have to think that way if I was in maybe a more sort of conventional 9 to 5, or even if I was back in university, because during my undergrad, I could know that, okay, I'm set, I know where I'm going to be for the next 4 years. And it would be similar if I, maybe went down the master's, PhD route, but
there's security, possibly.
Exactly, that security, that stability of knowing where I am, what I'm doing for a set period of time, which I don't have now. But then even on the flip side, there were times that at uni, because of that, I got bored and it was hard
complacent, potentially.
It was hard to stay motivated and keep going. Whereas now, because things are constantly changing and constantly moving for me, yes, on one side it can bring a lot of stress, but then it also brings a lot of excitement in some ways, and it keeps me guessing, keeps me on my toes, and I'm constantly having to I'm constantly learning new things and having new experiences, and it's been quite literally a wild ride.
Absolutely. And you've come out of an environment where you have that, this is your study time, you got a lecture here, you got, it's very clear cut. I mean, you have a timetable, and then gone into an environment where you had to continue to learn, but in different ways. How did you find that process? Taking on internships, throwing yourself into a totally different world. And did you just was that all on you to figure that out yourself? How did that happen after uni?
So,
in that totally different sphere, when you're going and you're putting pen to paper and you're meeting these creatives and you're kind of pursuing that route.
So it's been a lot, really. And I think, in a way, sometimes I forget how I end up in places or I find things, because now that I am starting to get a bit more comfortable, it almost feels like this is how it's always been. Yeah, but then when I think back, I'm like, no, I started somewhere, and in the beginning, that sounds very profound, but it was I felt very, I felt a bit out of my depths in a sense. So I think I'm trying to...
But it's a lot, I'm thinking you're in a position where a lot of people have gone, right, uni, tick that's off my list, and you sort of went, I did a master's, and it's, I suppose, relatively similar, but it's kind of one of those ones where it's like, that again was just there's my timetable, off I go. But actually the onus being on you to go, no, I need to go and figure out the next step here, and it's going to be something totally different, and I'm going to make that happen for myself, is bold again, because you're, it's like everyone else is like, tick that's done, and you're like, okay, what is this then? I'm doing this thing now.
Literally. I think I've been a bit fortunate in the sense that at least I had the time to do a lot of sort of research and really look for things, because at least the first role that I got when I left uni was actually still working with my uni in the comms and marketing department. And that job was part-time as well. So when I finished work, I could then use all of my free time to figure out, okay, how am I going to sort of develop my creative profile and everything. And so in that time, I did a lot of research. I spent probably too much time online. Like I'm always joking with people that I'm chronically online, but I make it work for me, because I decided I needed to like follow every sort of organization that could be remotely useful to me. I need to be following all the events. I need to know what's going on when. I need to see when all the competitions open so I can enter them on time.
Listen, you had to build a whole new community because the other one had to go.
Exactly. So over time, like just from being really on top of things in that way and almost retraining my algorithm, because another thing that I've been doing as I've been on this journey, because I feel like I've had to overcome so many challenges in order to find resources and find opportunities, I really want to help other people not to have to struggle as much. So anytime I do find things, and when I do find a new resource or an opportunity that I think like, oh, this would be useful, I'm always sharing it either, on my Instagram stories, or I'm DMing all of my friends and connections that I know would be interested in this stuff. And it's so funny that as I'm doing that more and more, as I get so many DMs like, oh, Muminah, how did you find this thing, or how did you know? And I'm like, in a way, you should be asking me, how can I not know? I am in so many groups. I'm following so many things. Like and anything that happens, I can't miss it because
you have seen it. It's like when celebrities get interviewed on like Graham Norton or whatever, and they're like, "Have you seen this TikTok?" And some of them go, "No." And then you've always got the ones like a Taylor Swift type person who goes, "Of course I've seen them. I've seen them all." Because that's part of the job, right? Is to be across this stuff and to know what's going on. So I'm glad to hear it, and it's really powerful that you are so conscious of directing that to the people that need to see it as well. That's amazing. It's quite incredible during this whole story to actually even try and assess when you had the time to write anything, though. Like, because you have produced an incredible amount of work, and you've been performing it in space as well. And that's something that you've done recently, is you've gone and done open mics where you've performed and spoken words. Tell us a little bit about that and the process of writing, because I imagine it can be quite a cathartic thing when all this stuff gets on top of you, to actually be able to produce the work that you produce, your poetry.
So I'd say I always find that question funny as well. Like when do I have time to write, or how do I write? Because I often get stuck like on how to answer, because in a way it just kind of comes quite naturally. I know that might sound, I don't know, a bit cliche that, oh, I just get inspired and I write, but I'm quite thankful for the fact that for the most part now, my experience of sort of writer's block has been very minimal, and I do get inspiration from, a lot of my experiences and just things that I see the world around me. And so, I'd say that my process is very sort of, but my process is very, I don't know how to describe it, but yeah, it just kind of comes and goes. It flows quite naturally. Yeah. Nice. So it's quite a natural process. And also I'm very fortunate in the fact that I do have a lot of time either in between roles and sort of internships and stuff, or even when I am working, a lot of the work that I do has been remote and quite flexible. So I don't have so many time constraints that limit the amount of time that I can spend on my writing, which is really fortunate. And I would say that it is definitely a process that I find very cathartic, and also it really helps me to sort out my thoughts and emotions. I think especially when I'm feeling particularly overwhelmed or particularly emotional in some respects, sometimes that in and of itself can feel very confusing when I'm not sure why I'm feeling that way or where it's coming from. So sometimes in my writing, it just kind of comes out and it's a way for me to process things. And then especially when I'm feeling negative emotions, it really helps me sort of get it out in a healthier way, because historically I used to always bottle up negative feelings. So like when I was feeling very upset or very angry, and it got to the point where I would feel physically ill. Like I would be so, like my chest would hurt and I would feel kind of nauseous, and it was literally manifesting itself physically because I was holding these things in and burying them so deep. And I realized that I can't keep doing that, because then it would build up and then explode in some sort of way. So either I would, have like a sort of meltdown and, be really distraught, and I wouldn't be able to sort of cope. And I'd have to essentially, like, when I say like take 2-3 days off, like I just couldn't really do much when I'm in that state. And it was almost like, I guess, a sort of extreme burnout, and realizing that I can't keep going through these kinds of cycles
over and
exactly.
Over, yeah.
And I need to, have a healthier way to sort of process things and deal with them. Even if I feel like sometimes I can't really talk to other people, I can't be sort of open or share how I'm feeling in that way, I can at least still have somewhere for these things to go. And that sometimes is just my writing and being able to kind of let it all out on the page.
I mean, that it's just, I'm so glad that you found that, because I'm just trying to imagine a universe where you didn't have that outlet, and I don't even want to think about it. But being able to find something that not only gives you clarity in those moments, helps you to feel, self-assured and kind of not have to repeat that cycle, but also you can tangibly see benefiting others is pretty profound, actually. To know, okay, it's one thing, this is helping me, and thank goodness I found this and this works for me. And another thing completely to have people telling you, actually, thank you, because that made me feel seen and that helped me too. Does that, the weight of that hit you ever when you go, that's really quite something, this is working? Is that what keeps you going and motivates you as well? Or?
I'd say so, because sometimes I can get very introspective and sort of all in my head and think to myself like, oh, why am I doing this? And is there any point sometimes, especially if it's like in the world of social media, I'll have spent so much time like maybe editing a post and put it out, and then like 2 people
I know, it's like, thanks mum, and she's back in the comments, and that's
exactly. Oh no, I love my folks for that. Like they're always there, liking,
hyping
commenting
you up.
every post.
Nice.
But yeah, sometimes it feels like, oh, this thing just flopped. Or even I remember one of my open mics, I can't remember how many people showed up, but it was maybe like, okay, no, quite a few people showed up. But in terms of how many people actually like joined me on the live, it was...
It was actually full.
Sorry, because sometimes they all just kind of blur into one, because I've done so many of them now. Yeah. But in this particular one, I remember only one person wanted to come and like be on the live with me and share some of their poetry. And I remember afterwards thinking like, oh, it was just one person. I was hoping it would be like, more people. But knowing that, even if it's just one person that I can inspire, or even if I make a post and it's only one person that comments and says like, oh, they really like this thing, then that is still impactful. Like it's small, but it means something. And I think it's stuff like that that really keeps me going and helps sort of motivate me and remind me that at the end of the day, it's not just, if this makes sense, it's not just kind of me. Like I'm not alone in what I'm doing, and there are so many people out there, even if it's a small number, it's still somebody that can be inspired by and resonate with my words. So as long as those people are still out there, then I should like keep going. And
it's more than a good enough reason. Yeah, absolutely. I know it's pretty cliche as well. We're sort of trained to go, oh, the numbers matter and the more the better and all that good stuff. But really and truly, if one person has 100 people could like something and not have actually watched it past 1 second and not actually have really resonated with it at all. That's one true. Person that's watched it all the way through and has something good to say about it, or has feedback, or has enjoyed it, it means way more, right? Mm-hmm. But I suppose it's reminding yourself of that in the moments where you've gone 3 hours of my life editing this, 6 hours writing it,
Literally.
Yeah.
And I think as well, especially when people sort of go out of their way to tell me how my writing has made them feel, or my posts, that is also really, it really means a lot to me, because I think, sometimes being on this side of things, it can feel like I'm not like going anywhere. I'm not getting any sort of, I don't know, like sometimes it can feel quite literally, like they say, like just speaking into the void. Like maybe I make a post or I share a poem, or even like when I'm doing an open mic, like when I'm on stage and I share my poem and then I go and it feels like, oh, that's the end, and it can be quite anticlimactic in that way. But then, sometimes people will come up to me and they'll say like, oh, they really could relate to what I said, or they really enjoyed this particular line. And I was like, oh, so it is going somewhere. And that means a lot, because just the same way that other people have been able to inspire me and positively impact me in that way, I really like being able to do that for other people. And thankfully, now as my platform is growing, I am able to reach more people that way. And I hope that I continue to be able to do so. Yeah.
Amazing. I suppose in the moment when you're standing there, or when you're being vulnerable in that way, you are sort of bearing your soul. So it does make you feel a little bit like, guys, throw me a like, please. I just gave you my heart on a plate. Could you tell me you like it? How do you deal with this? So that self-doubt, is it a case of when you get that positive reinforcement, or is there something innate in you now that you just know, because the community you built is so strong and growing, that it will have resonated with people, and it was how do you tackle that self-doubt thing that we all sort of grapple with?
I think in a way, sometimes I have to think about myself first, in the sense that sometimes I can be in my head and that can be negative, in the sense that I'm sort of questioning myself, doubting myself, and sort of putting myself down, like, oh, I'm not really good at this, or what am I doing, sort of. But then on the flip side, sometimes I do have to just remember that at the end of the day, I need to sort of see if this is something that I enjoy. Like basically remind myself, how do I feel about this? And if I think about the fact that, did I enjoy writing this? Yes. Do I enjoy, reading this or performing this? Yes. Do I enjoy how I feel in the moment? And all of these things, if the answer is yes, then even if like no one else likes this post or this story or this poem, and like even if no one else reads it, is this something that I enjoy, makes me feel good? And if the answer is yes, then I'll keep going, because I also remind myself of all the years that like poetry especially was just a hobby for me, and it was just essentially an offshoot of journaling. So as I would have my sort of journaling practice, a lot of the time my journal entries would be poems that I would write, and these are or at least these were lines, I would always say, lines that will never see the light of day. I actually have a poem called that, and it was just a case of, this is just for me, and I'll just keep doing this even if I don't have an audience. Yeah. And so now that I have an audience, I have to kind of keep reminding myself of that sort of root, that is where I started, that's where I came from. And if all of this disappeared tomorrow, that's still where I would be. And I have to keep this going for myself. So there's that side of things. And then also reminding myself of my goals and my purpose, that I want to be able to positively impact other people and share what things that I've learned and things that have benefited me with my community, with those around me, and that there will hopefully always be at least one or two people that I can reach in that way. Even if it doesn't seem like it's a lot of people, or even if some people are, doubtful of me and think that this path that I'm going down isn't maybe the sort of best route, so to speak, that I have to sort of stick to my guns and remind myself of, why I'm doing this all in the first place, and the impact that I am having and continue to have, and inshallah will continue to have in the future as well. So
it's so powerful, because, to be able to have that assurance in yourself that, this is making me happy, and this is, and for me, it makes me feel the best version of myself and that is enough. Because so often I think we're driven by external factors and we don't actually look inward half as much as we probably should, you know? So thank you for being a testament to the fact that people can make decisions like that and not feel the sort of, I don't know, don't feel locked in by convention and by this route that was set out for you, X, Y, and Z. Because just hearing you talk about doing what you love and how it makes you feel and that being enough, it's just gorgeous. It's so lovely. And I think everybody needs to remind themselves that is what you should be doing. You should be doing what makes you feel fulfilled. Because it's you that you've got to, you live in your own head. It's you that you've got to be with at all times. And looking back to what you were saying about the kind of cycle that you found yourself in when you weren't doing what was your purpose and you weren't doing what was made you happy. You know, it's no question what scenario is preferable. Exactly. It's the one where you're being yourself.
Like in that time, in that process, I remember just feeling so trapped. Like I had to follow one way and I couldn't sort of change things. And over time, when I started to work on sort of changing that mindset, I realized that part of the problem was because I was letting other people's opinions and perceptions shape my own perception of myself, essentially. And I was letting everything that other people believed or said really influence me in that way. And it sounds so obvious now, but it took me ages to realize that at the end of the day, this is my life and those people are going to sort of live it, A. And then B, half the time, sometimes, even when I'm talking to some of these people afterwards and I'll like remind them of that thing that they said, they might not even remember.
But you've thought about it for months.
Exactly.
Years. Yeah.
And it's times like that it really struck me that, you know, a throwaway comment or just, you know, a flippant piece of advice that someone tried to give me.
All the critics out there. Yeah.
Exactly. And I've like held on to this and sort of mulled over this for so long, and this person doesn't even remember.
And, you know, made big life decisions based on something that's not even, they've not even taken that out of the room with them.
Literally.
Wow. Yeah.
I remember as well that one of the reasons why I was so embarrassed for a long time to even just admit that I am a writer and I want to do that as a career was because I was worried that, you know, people wouldn't take that seriously and they would just be like, you know, maybe think it was a joke that, you know, you literally study computer science, why aren't you a software engineer? Like that makes more sense. And people have said essentially stuff along those lines. And I remember that, oh, you know, because I don't want to be in that scenario, I'll just, you know, keep working on things as I've been doing up until that point. And I'll just continue sort of hiding that part of myself. But yeah, like I mentioned before, it was just getting to a point that it literally was not sustainable or healthy. So now that I've kind of come past that and decided to embrace all of every aspect of myself and not keep hiding and masking all the time, I've really sort of, been able to overcome that and things have improved as a result. So.
Absolutely. It's wonderful. It's absolutely wonderful. And your passion for representation is obviously a huge part of what you do. And we've mentioned the community that you've built and the way that you will, you know, seek out information to kind of give it back to people that might need to see it. I wanted to talk to you a little bit about that and kind of that role that you are now fulfilling for other people and whether or not you saw much of that for yourself when you were growing up or whether it was very much, you know, what kind of representation were we talking at the time for you? Because you have filled that space for a lot of people now. And I just wondered.
So growing up, honestly, there wasn't much representation of people like me. And even now in more recent years, as things I would say have improved, I'd still say there is a gap in representation because oftentimes in mainstream media, when you do see Black people being represented, they're not Muslim, and there's this constant split between the Black representation without a Muslim identity, and then in Muslim spaces, Black people aren't being represented, and especially those that share my sort of cultural heritage, being a Nigerian, West African. And so there was just this constant like gap and this space that wasn't being filled. And I remember one instance that really sort of stuck with me from a few years back was when I first discovered Honest Tea Talk, and that's a podcast hosted by 3 Black Muslim women, and just hearing them talking about so many different issues from the perspective and lived experience of being Black Muslim women, it just really inspired me and was one of the key motivators of me wanting to start my own podcast as well. And also more recently, I'd say like a couple of years ago, I read a book called The Translator by Leila Abulela. And that book was really unique because this was the first time that I read about a Black Muslim woman in Scotland. So the main character, she was from Sudan and she moved to Aberdeen and she was working at a university there. And I remember the story was just so unique and stood out to me for that fact, because another issue that is often the case with Black Muslim representation is that when it is there, it's either more focused on the American perspective or a very London-centric view of England as well.
But Aberdeen.
Exactly.
Wow.
And honestly, so I was so... And the book came out like a good... over 20 years ago.
Right.
So it's not even like, it wasn't even written just now, but I thought it was so cool and so timeless, the way that it explored the character's life and different issues like discrimination and Islamophobia and Orientalism and just so many things that like I have sort of experienced and faced on a daily basis in my life here as a Nigerian British woman, you know, lived in England, based in Scotland now, and just all of these different nuances that I've not really seen talked about or that I've not really seen talked about or given a platform. I was finally reading about it.
Were you just sitting there reading it going, oh, yes, you know.
Exactly.
And that's so powerful.
Honestly, and every time I think of those experiences that I've had myself, and it continues to motivate me that I really want to not be alone in this or be the only one being able to feel that. I want to be able to inspire other people in a similar way. And yeah, it's been an interesting journey, but yeah.
That's why, I mean, just art as a general concept, whether it's the spoken word, the written word, whatever it might be, you know, it's such a wonderful way to communicate that message and for people to feel themselves reflected back in that way. And it's very clear that that's what you're doing and that's what you're producing in people, which is just fabulous. Wonderful to see. And it's really lovely to hear a story of you having that experience with another piece of art, and then long may it continue, basically. And the more that you use your network and your community to spread that message, you know, the more people might be doing it and feeling the courage to do it as well and put their own voice out there too. So hopefully. Yeah. For our listeners who are navigating their own mental health journeys, especially those from marginalised backgrounds, what message would you like to leave with them on the podcast?
So I think the main one I'd like to share would be that even if you're going through tough times or, you know, you're experiencing challenges and various issues in your life, that if it's getting to a point where you feel like you want to seek support and find help in whatever way that is, whether it's through sort of counseling or therapy or reaching out to people, then it's okay to do that and not to feel like it makes you any less, any weak. You don't have to sort of keep up this you don't have to keep up a
facade
of being strong and like independent. Like, you don't need to rely on other people, that it's okay to do that. And if anything, that in and of itself is a sign of strength, that you're able to I identify these things and seek support where and when you need it. So
yeah, I think I needed to hear that today. Thank you very much. No, but for real, that's a really powerful message, and thank you so much for being so open and honest and candid about your experience. It's been so lovely chatting to you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Really powerful message to carry over as well. So, I mean, yeah, I feel like I just need to go away and watch every single one of your videos now. I've loved this conversation, so thank you so much to everyone who's tuned in for listening. And remember, if you need help or support with how you're feeling, Young Scot has tons of information at young.scot/I feel. That's young.scot/IAYE. Very important. Feel. If you want to follow Muminah's work, then make sure that you are following her on Instagram using Minah's Musings. That's the handle. That's right, isn't it? Yeah. Also, don't forget, if you're under 26, then make sure to get your free Young Scot National Entitlement Card with thousands of discounts in Scotland and across Europe. Don't forget about all the discounts in Europe. It's very exciting. Subsidised public transport and a whole lot more. Visit young.scot/card for more info. Finally, Young Scot members can claim 100 reward points for listening to this episode by visiting Young Scot membership and typing in EMPOWER as your points code. If you're not a member yet, visit young.scot/membership to get started today and earn points for activities and access exciting rewards. So that's it from me. I hope you've enjoyed this episode of This Is How I Feel. And if you have, then please rate, review and subscribe to us, which means that you'll get instant access as soon as the next episode drops. Looking forward to next time already. See you then.